The unknown number flashed on Kwon Jisu's phone 3 times before he answered. He should have let it go to voicemail. Mr. Kwon Jisu, this is Attorney Min from Seoul Family Court. I'm calling about a paternity registration filed 13 months ago. You're listed as the father. Jisu's office went silent. Outside, Seoul continued at its normal pace. Inside, time had stopped. Who filed it? The mother. A Ms. Diarra Ndlovu. That name hit him like cold water. His ex-wife. The woman who'd left him because he'd given her no choice. The woman he'd spent 16 months trying not to think about. And apparently, the mother of his child. A child who'd been alive for over a year, while he knew nothing. Before we dive into what Jisu does with this information, so hit that subscribe button if you want to see how someone handles discovering their entire reality just changed with one phone call. Now let's begin. Jisu did the math in his head. 13 months. He and Diarra had finalized their divorce 16 months ago, which meant she would have been pregnant when they signed those papers, and she never said a word. I'll send someone to collect the documents, he said. Actually, Mr. Kwon, this requires your personal appearance. Can you come in this week? He hung up without answering. For a long moment, Jisu sat in his leather chair, looking out at the Seoul skyline. His mind was already moving through possibilities. This could be a trap, someone trying to create leverage against him. It wouldn't be the first time an old connection was weaponized. But Diarra? That didn't fit. She'd left quietly. No drama, no demands, no public scenes. She'd simply looked at him one morning and said, "I can't do this anymore." 3 months later, the divorce was final. He pressed his intercom. "Get me everything on Diarra Ndlovu, current address, employment, financials. I want it in 2 hours." His assistant, a sharp woman named Park Min-ji, who'd worked for him for 6 years, paused before responding. "Your ex-wife?" "Just do it." Min-ji knew better than to ask follow-up questions. 2 hours later, Jisu had a folder on his desk. Diarra was living in Itaewon, Seoul's international district. She worked as a program coordinator for a nonprofit that helped immigrant families. Her financials were modest, but stable. No debt. No red flags. She'd kept her married name legally but went by her maiden name professionally. And buried in the medical records his people had acquired, probably illegally, was a hospital admission from 15 months ago. Maternity ward. So it was real. Jisu leaned back, fingers pressed together. He could ignore this. The court couldn't force him to acknowledge anything without proof. He could demand a paternity test, drag it out, make it complicated. But the thing was, he believed it. Diarra had many qualities, but dishonesty wasn't one of them. If she'd named him, the child was his, which meant for 13 months he'd had a child he knew nothing about. The question was why she'd stayed silent. Jisu made a decision. He wouldn't go through the courts yet. First, he'd go to the source. He found her on a Thursday evening. Diarra's apartment was in an older building, the kind that had character, but needed maintenance. Jisu stood outside for a moment, watching the lit window on the 3rd floor. He could see movement inside, shadows passing. He climbed the stairs, his footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. When he reached her door, he knocked twice. The door opened. Diarra stood there, and for a second, neither of them spoke. She looked the same. Maybe a little tired around the eyes, but still her. Hair pulled back, casual clothes, no makeup. She'd never needed it. Her expression didn't change when she saw him. No shock, no fear. Just a slight tightening around her mouth. "Jisu." "Diarra. How did you find me?" "Does it matter?" She considered that, then stepped back. "You might as well come in." He entered a small apartment that was nothing like the home they'd shared. That place had been all modern minimalism, cold perfection. This was warm. Colorful fabrics on the couch, photos on the walls, books everywhere. It looked lived in. It looked like her. "I got a call from family court," he said, getting straight to it. "They said I'm a father." Diarra closed the door, didn't turn around immediately. "Yes." 13 months. Yes. You didn't think I should know? She finally faced him. I thought about it every single day for 9 months, and then every day after. And every time I came to the same conclusion. You didn't need to know. That's not your decision to make. Actually, it was exactly my decision to make. Her voice was calm, not defensive, just factual. You and I were done. We signed papers. You got your life back the way you wanted it. I got mine. With my child. With my child, she corrected, and who you knew nothing about, and therefore had no connection to. I didn't come to you for money. I didn't put your name on anything official until the hospital required it. I built a life that didn't include you. Jisoo felt something hot flash through his chest. Anger, maybe. Or something closer to pain. You had no right. I had every right. Diara crossed her arms. Do you remember our last year together? Do you remember what it was like? He did. Long silences. Her asking questions he couldn't answer. Her wanting to know about his work, his life, the things he kept locked away. Him shutting her out because that was safer. That was control. I remember you gave up, he said. Diara laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. I gave up trying to love someone who wouldn't let me in. That's different. So this is punishment. This is protection. She moved to the couch, sat down. Your world is dangerous, Jisoo. You know it. I know it. Why would I bring a baby into that? Where is the child now? Sleeping. In the next room. Jisoo looked toward the closed door. Behind it was a person who shared his blood, his DNA, and he'd never even seen them. I want to meet. He stopped. Is it a boy or girl? Something flickered across Diara's face. Sadness, maybe. A boy. His name is Kofi. That's not Korean. He's not just Korean. The weight of that sat between them. I want to meet him, Jisoo said again. No. You can't stop me. I can go through legal channels, force the issue. You could, Diara agreed, and I'd fight you every step. It would be messy and expensive and take years. And at the end of it, maybe you'd get supervised visits once a month. Is that what you want? I want to know my son. Why? She leaned forward. Be honest. Is it because you actually want to be a father? Or is it because I made a choice without you, and you can't stand not having control? The question hit harder than it should have. Jisoo had built his entire life on control. Every business deal, every alliance, every decision calculated for maximum advantage. The idea that something this significant had happened without his knowledge, without his input, it felt like a wound. But was that the same as wanting to be a parent? I don't know, he admitted, and it was the most honest thing he'd said in a long time. Diara's expression softened slightly. At least that's true. Look, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm really not. But I need to put Kofi first, and right now, you're a stranger to him. A stranger from a life I deliberately left behind. So what do I do? She was quiet for a moment. You go home. You think about what you actually want. And if you decide you want to be in his life, you do it the right way. Legal, proper, with boundaries. I won't keep him from you forever. But I also won't just hand him over, because biology says you're connected. Jisoo stood. This conversation was going nowhere, and he needed to think. This isn't over. I didn't think it would be. Diara walked him to the door. For what it's worth, he has your eyes. After the door closed, Jisoo stood in the hallway for a long minute. From inside the apartment, he heard a small sound. A baby's cry, muffled through the walls. Then Diara's voice, soft and soothing, and singing something in a language he didn't recognize. He left the building and sat in his car for 20 minutes before driving away. The next morning, Jisoo did something he rarely did. He canceled his meetings and went to see his lawyer. Attorney Kang was a woman in her 50s who'd handled everything from his business contracts to his divorce. She listened without interrupting as Jisoo explained the situation. When he finished, she sat back. What do you want the outcome to be? I want access to my son. Legally, you have rights. We can file for a paternity test, establish legal fatherhood, and petition for custody arrangements. How long? 6 months, maybe more. Family courts move slowly. And if she fights it, which it sounds like she will, it could drag out. Jisoo drummed his fingers on the armrest. What if I don't fight? Kang raised an eyebrow, meaning, what if I do what she asked? Go through proper channels, show up correctly. That would be, well, slower. And you'd have no guarantee of results. She holds all the cards right now. But it wouldn't be a war. No, Kang agreed. It wouldn't be a war. Jisoo thought about Diara's apartment, the warmth of it, the photos on the walls, the way she'd looked at him without fear, just firmness. She wasn't playing games. She was just protecting her child. Their child. Set up a mediation, he said. Through the court. Official, but not combative. I want to do this right. Kang looked surprised, but she nodded. I'll make the calls. 2 weeks later, Jisoo sat in a neutral meeting room at the family court building. Diara was across from him, her own lawyer beside her. So a mediator, a calm older man named Mr. Song, sat at the head of the table. Thank you both for agreeing to this process, Mr. Song began. The goal here is to establish a parenting plan that serves the best interests of the child while respecting both parents' rights and concerns. Ms. Ndlovu, you've submitted a proposal. Would you like to outline it? Diara glanced at her notes. I'm willing to allow visitation, but it needs to be gradual. Supervised visits first, 1 hour per week, in a public place. After 3 months of consistent visits, we can discuss unsupervised time. After 6 months of consistency, we can talk about overnight visits. Consistency meaning? Jisoo asked. Meaning you show up when you say you will. Same day, same time. No cancellations unless it's an emergency. No sending someone else in your place. Heart, you want to be a father? You have to actually be present. Mr. Song nodded. That's reasonable. Mr. Kwon, what's your response? Jisoo wanted to argue. 6 months of supervised visits felt like an eternity. But he looked at Diara's face and saw no room for negotiation. Fine, I agree. Diara blinked, clearly surprised he hadn't pushed back. Good, Mr. Song said. Let's establish the schedule. Ms. Ndlovu, what works for you? Saturday afternoons, 2 p.m. There's a park near my apartment. Every Saturday? Jisoo confirmed. Every Saturday. If you miss 2 in a row without an emergency cause, we reevaluate the arrangement. It was a test. She was setting up hoops and waiting to see if he'd jump through them. He'd jump. Agreed. The mediator drew up the informal agreement. Both of them signed. As they stood to leave, Diara caught his arm. I mean it about consistency. Kofi's too young to understand now, but one day he won't be. Don't start something you won't finish. I'll be there, Jisoo said. And he was. That first Saturday, Jisoo arrived at the park at exactly 2 p.m. Diara was already there, sitting on a bench with a stroller beside her. When she saw him approach, she stood. Ready? She asked. Yes. She turned the stroller so he could see inside. Jisoo looked down at his son for the first time. Kofi was awake, big dark eyes staring up at him with infant curiosity. He had Diara's nose, her mouth. But the eyes, those were Kwon eyes. Sharp, observant, even at 13 months old. Can I hold him? Jisoo asked. Diara hesitated, then nodded. She lifted Kofi out of the stroller, and after a moment, placed him in Jisoo's arms. The baby was heavier than he expected. Warmer. He looked up at Jisoo and made a small sound, one hand reaching up to grab at Jisoo's collar. Something shifted in Jisoo's chest, something he had no name for. Support his head more, Diara instructed. Your other hand, yes, like that. They stood there in the park, this strange, broken family, while other people walked by with their dogs and their normalcy. He's beautiful, Jisoo managed. He is. Diarra's voice was soft. And he's good. He sleeps through the night now, mostly. He laughs a lot. He's starting to walk. Kofi grabbed Jisoo's finger and squeezed. How long do I have? Jisoo asked. 1 hour. I'll be right over there. She pointed to a bench 15 feet away. Close enough to intervene, far enough to give space. That first hour was awkward. Jisoo had no idea what to do with a baby. He sat on the grass, Kofi in his lap, and mostly just watched him. The baby seemed content to pull grass and try to eat it, which Jisoo gently prevented. When the hour was up, Diarra came back over. Same time next week? She asked. Yes. She took Kofi back, settled him in the stroller. You did okay. It was the smallest compliment, but Jisoo held on to it. Over the next few weeks, a pattern developed. Every Saturday at 2 p.m., Jisoo showed up. Rain or shine, no matter what business crisis was happening, he was there. He started bringing things. A small toy 1 week. A children's book another week, though Kofi was far too young to understand it. By the 5th week, Kofi smiled when he saw him. It was probably just infant randomness, but Jisoo chose to believe otherwise. Diarra watched all of this from her bench, her expression unreadable. On the 8th Saturday, Jisoo arrived to find Diarra looking stressed. Everything okay? He asked. Kofi's teething. He's been crying all morning. This might be a short visit. That's fine. But when Jisoo held Kofi, the baby seemed to calm slightly. Jisoo walked him around the park, bouncing gently the way he'd seen other parents do. Kofi rested his head on Jisoo's shoulder and made small, unhappy sounds, but he didn't cry. When the hour was up, Diarra looked surprised. He likes you, she said, and it sounded almost like an accusation. Is that a problem? I don't know yet. But the next week, she let the visit go for 90 minutes. Hey, I know you're probably wondering what happens next, and trust me, things are about to get really complicated. Want to stick with me, because the next part is where everything starts shifting in ways nobody expected. 3 months in, Jisoo had missed 0 visits. He'd rescheduled international business calls, sent subordinates to meetings he'd normally handle personally, and turned down a very profitable deal because it would have required him to be out of the country on a Saturday. His people noticed. You're distracted, his second-in-command, a man named Choi, said one evening. Is there a problem I should know about? No problem. Because if someone's creating leverage, it's handled. But it wasn't handled. It was growing. This thing he felt every time he held Kofi. This protectiveness. This want. He started doing things he'd never considered before. Reading articles about child development. Learning nursery rhymes. He even bought a Korean English children's book and practiced reading it aloud in his apartment when no one could hear. On the 12th Saturday, Diarra made an announcement. The supervised period is up. If you want, next week we can try unsupervised time. Still in public, still just a couple of hours. But I won't hover. Jisoo felt something like victory, but he kept his face neutral. I'd like that. That next Saturday, Diarra handed over the stroller with a diaper bag, packed with everything Kofi might need. My number's in his bag. Call if anything goes wrong, anything at all. We'll be fine. She looked doubtful, but stepped back. Jisoo took Kofi to a different part of the park, one with a small playground. He sat in the grass and let Kofi crawl around, keeping one hand always close. The baby was fast, not faster than Jisoo expected. He lunged for a stick, and Jisoo intercepted it. No, that's dirty. Kofi looked offended and made a grumpy sound that was so much like Diarra's annoyed expression that Jisoo almost laughed. Another parent, a mother with her own toddler, smiled at him. First time solo? Is it that obvious? You look terrified. It gets easier. But the thing was, Jisoo wasn't terrified. He was focused. This was a different kind of challenge than business negotiations, but it was still about reading situations, anticipating needs, and staying 3 steps ahead. Kofi tried to eat another stick, Jisoo redirected him to a toy. By the time Diarra came back 2 hours later, Kofi had a smudge of dirt on his face, and his shirt was on backwards because Jisoo had attempted and failed a diaper change. But they were both intact. Diarra inspected her son, then looked at Jisoo. What happened to his shirt? Diaper incident. I did my best. She bit back a smile. Next time, the tabs go in the back. Noted. As she was buckling Kofi into the stroller, she said without looking up, "You've been consistent. I'll give you that." I said I would be. People say a lot of things. She straightened. But you've shown up. So, I think we can move to the next phase. You can take him to your place next week. I'll need to see it first, make sure it's safe. And you'll need basic supplies there. Jisoo's apartment was the opposite of child-friendly. Glass tables, sharp corners, expensive breakables everywhere. I'll make it work. I'll come by Friday to inspect. Text me your address. That week, Jisoo did something he never thought he'd do. Something he called a child-proofing service. Professional people came through his apartment, installing cabinet locks, outlet covers, and corner guards. He bought a portable crib, high chair, toys. An entire section of his living space transformed into something soft and safe. Minji, his assistant, watched all this with barely concealed shock. "Sir, are you expecting a child?" "I have a child. I'm expecting him to visit." She blinked. "I didn't know you. When did—" "It's recent. I'll need Saturdays blocked permanently. No exceptions." When Diarra came to inspect on Friday, she walked through his apartment with a critical eye. She tested the cabinet locks, checked the outlet covers, and examined the crib. "This is good," she finally said. "Better than I expected, honestly." I researched. She picked up one of the toys he'd bought, a soft building block set. "These are age-appropriate." The internet was very specific about choking hazards. Diarra set the blocks down and looked at him. Really looked at him. "Why are you doing this?" "He's my son." "But why? You could have fought me legally, made it ugly, or you could have just walked away. You signed away rights in the divorce. No one would have blamed you." Jisoo thought about that. The first few weeks, I didn't know why. I just knew I couldn't not do it. But now, he stopped, searching for words. When he looks at me and smiles, it's not because of who I am or what I can give him. It's just because I'm there. No one's looked at me like that in a long time. Something crossed Diarra's face. "Jisoo, I'm not asking for anything," he said quickly. "From you. Oh, this is about him." She nodded slowly. "Okay, you can have him tomorrow. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'll pack enough supplies. Call me if anything seems wrong." That Saturday, having Kofi in his apartment felt surreal. The baby crawled across the expensive rug, drooled on the leather couch, and knocked over a cup of water that Jisoo barely caught. It was chaos. It was perfect. Jisoo fed him lunch, mashed carrots that ended up more on Kofi's face than in his mouth. He changed 3 diapers, getting more efficient each time. He put Kofi down for a nap in the crib and stood watching him sleep for 10 minutes, just breathing. When Diarra came to pick him up at 5, she found them both on the floor. Jisoo reading a storybook in Korean, while Kofi chewed on another book entirely. "How did it go?" she asked. "Good." "Messy, but good." She collected Kofi's things, checking him over with practiced efficiency. "Same time next week?" "Yes." "Diarra, thank you." She paused at the door. "Don't thank me yet. This is still a trial. But you're doing better than I thought you would." After she left, Jisoo's apartment felt too quiet. He picked up the scattered toys, returning them to the small basket he'd bought. His phone rang. Business call. He answered it, negotiated a contract worth millions, all while noticing the small handprint Kofi had left on the glass coffee table. He didn't clean it off. Months passed. The routine held. Every Saturday, Kofi came over. Jisoo's life started to reorganize itself around this small person. He cut ties with business partners, who operated in ways that might come back as problems. He restructured meetings to never run past Friday evening. He started planning. His mother called one Sunday morning. "You've been avoiding family dinner." "I've been busy." "Busy with what?" "Your secretary says you're unavailable every Saturday. This is new." Jisoo closed his eyes. He hadn't told his family yet. His mother was traditional, judgmental, and would have opinions about everything from Diara to the divorce to the child. "I'll explain in person. I'll come to dinner next week." When he showed up at the family home the following Sunday, his mother, brother, and sister-in-law were waiting. They settled in the formal dining room, and his mother got straight to it. "So, what's this about?" "I have a son. He's 17 months old. His name is Kofi." Silence. His brother spoke first. "You have a what?" "A son." "With my ex-wife." His mother's face went through several expressions. "The African woman?" "Diara, yes." "And you're just telling us now?" "I just found out myself 7 months ago." More silence. His sister-in-law leaned forward. "Can we meet him?" "Not yet. It's complicated." His mother set down her teacup with a sharp click. "Complicated how?" "If he's a Kwan, he should be raised as a Kwan. Properly. He's being raised properly. Diara is a good mother. But you're not married to her anymore." "No." "So this child is illegitimate." Jisoo felt his jaw tighten. "This child is mine. That's all that matters." The dinner went downhill from there. His mother had opinions about responsibility, about propriety, about what the family would think. His brother was quieter, but clearly skeptical. Only his sister-in-law seemed genuinely interested in the actual child, rather than the scandal. Jisoo left early, frustrated and tired. When Saturday came, he was still thinking about that dinner. Kofi was playing with blocks, stacking them just to knock them down and giggle. The sound cut through Jisoo's bad mood. "Your grandmother thinks I'm handling this wrong," he told the baby, who obviously didn't understand. "She thinks there are proper ways to do things." Kofi offered him a block. Jisoo took it. "But I think maybe the proper way is just showing up. What do you think?" Kofi knocked over the tower again and laughed. "Yeah, that's what I thought too." The shift happened gradually, then all at once. At month 8, Diara started allowing evening pickups. Jisoo would get Kofi on Saturday mornings and keep him until bedtime. The first time he put Kofi to sleep in his apartment, the baby cried for 20 minutes straight, wanting his mother. Jisoo walked circles around the living room, bouncing, humming, doing everything the parenting articles suggested. Nothing worked. Finally, he called Diara. "He won't stop crying." "Is he hurt? Hungry? Does he need changing?" "No, no, and no. I think he just wants you." Diara was quiet for a moment. "Put me on video." Jisoo switched to a video call and turned the camera toward Kofi. The baby's face was red and blotchy from crying. "Hey, baby boy." Diara's voice came through the speaker, warm and familiar. "Mama's here. You're okay." Kofi's crying stuttered. He stared at the phone. "You're having a sleepover with Appa, remember? Mama will be there in the morning. You're being so brave." She sang a short song, and something in her native language, and Kofi's sobs turned to hiccups. "Rock him side to side, not up and down," she instructed Jisoo. "Slower. There you go." Within 5 minutes, Kofi's eyes were drooping. Jisoo carefully laid him in the crib, phone still in hand, showing Diara's face until the baby was fully asleep. When he stepped out of the room, he switched the camera back to himself. "Thank you. He'll get used to it. It's just new." She looked tired. "How are you holding up?" "I've negotiated hostile takeovers that were less stressful." Diara smiled. "A real one. Welcome to parenting. Do you want to stay on the call? I mean, if you're worried about him." "No, I trust you. Just message me if anything changes." The call ended, but something had shifted. She'd said she trusted him. 2 weeks later, Diara showed up at his apartment with a package. "What's this?" Jisoo asked, letting her in. "Books. For Kofi." She set the box down. He needs to learn about both sides of his heritage. These are children's books about African culture, folklore, and history. Jisoo pulled one out. The illustrations were bright and beautiful. I don't know how to pronounce half these words. Then learn. But she said it gently, not as a challenge. Here, this one's easy to start with. She sat on his couch and opened a book about a clever spider. Kofi crawled over immediately, always drawn to his mother. Diarra pulled him into her lap and started reading. Jisoo sat down next to them and listened. The story was simple, teaching a lesson about wisdom and humility. Diarra's voice changed for different characters, making Kofi giggle. When she finished, she handed the book to Jisoo. Your turn. Now? He needs to hear it from you, too. Jisoo took the book, suddenly nervous in a way business meetings never made him. He read slowly, stumbling over unfamiliar names. Kofi listened with the patience only small children have, occasionally patting the pages. When he finished, Diarra nodded. Better. Practice the rest. I'll quiz you next week. She started to stand, but Jisoo spoke without thinking. Stay for dinner. Diarra froze. What? It's almost 6. You probably haven't eaten. I was going to order food anyway. Jisoo, that's not. We don't do that. Why not? We're both here. We're both hungry. It's just food. She looked uncertain, which was rare for her. This is about Kofi, not us. I know. But Kofi needs to eat too. And he's still learning to use utensils. Seems easier if we're both here to tag team the mess. Diarra looked at their son, who had indeed found a leftover snack cup and was attempting to feed himself with questionable success. Fine, but nothing fancy. And I'm not staying late. Jisoo ordered Chinese food, mild dishes that Kofi could pick at. They ate on the floor around the coffee table because Kofi refused to stay in the high chair. He's stubborn, Jisoo observed, as Kofi rejected his third attempt to offer him a piece of carrot. He gets that from you. I was going to say he gets it from you. Diarra raised an eyebrow. Me? I'm perfectly reasonable. You literally created a 6-month testing system before letting me be alone with my own child. That's not stubborn. That's smart. But she was smiling a little. Kofi chose that moment to grab a handful of rice and smush it in his hair. They both lunged for him at the same time, hands colliding. Diarra got to him first, wiping his hands with a napkin, while Jisoo grabbed the rice out of his hair. Bath time is going to be fun, Diarra muttered. I have a tub. I can handle it. Have you bathed him before? Twice. Successfully. Successfully meaning? We both survived, and he ended up cleaner than he started. Diarra laughed, actually laughed, and the sound did something to Jisoo's chest. He'd forgotten what her laugh sounded like. After dinner, Diarra stayed to help with bath time. Kofi loved water, splashing and playing with foam letters that stuck to the tile. Jisoo's bathroom ended up soaked, but the baby was clean and happy. When Kofi was in pajamas, drowsy and calm, Diarra said goodbye. Jisoo walked her to the door. Thank you for the books, he said. He needs them, and so do you. She paused. Tonight was okay. But Jisoo, don't read into it. I'm not. Yes, you are. I can see it on your face. We're co-parenting. That's all. I know. She left, and Jisoo closed the door, wondering if he was lying to her or himself. The next Saturday, Jisoo's phone rang from an unknown international number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Is this Kwon Jisoo? A woman's voice, accented, skeptical. Yes. This is Thandiwe, Diarra's sister. We need to talk about what you're doing to my sister. Jisoo sat up straighter. I'm not doing anything to her. You're showing up, being consistent, playing father. Oh, and now she's confused. Confused about what? About whether you've actually changed, or if this is just another version of control. Thandiwe's voice was sharp. I was there when you broke her heart the first time. I helped her pack and leave. So understand when I say, if you hurt her again, I don't care how powerful you are. I will make it my life's mission to destroy you. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm trying to be a father to my son. And what about Diarra? What are you trying to be to her? Jisoo didn't have an answer. That's what I thought, Thandiwe said. Figure it out before you mess up her life again. She's happy now, stable. Don't ruin that because you're bored or guilty or whatever this is. She hung up. Jisoo sat with the phone in his hand, staring at nothing. Was that what he was doing? Disrupting Diarra's peace because he couldn't handle being left out? But then he thought about Kofi's laugh, the way the baby reached for him now, trusted him. That wasn't about Diarra. That was real, wasn't it? The answer came 2 weeks later when a photo appeared. Jisoo was in a meeting when Minji knocked and entered without waiting, which she never did. "Sir, we have a situation." She handed him a tablet. On the screen was a photo of him at the park with Kofi. The baby was on his shoulders, both of them caught mid-laugh. It was from 3 weeks ago. The photo was circulating in certain business circles. Someone had identified him. How bad? Jisoo asked, already knowing the answer. People are asking questions. Who the child is, why you've been unavailable, whether this represents a weakness. Weakness. In his world, family was either leverage or liability. He'd spent years keeping his personal life minimal, exactly to avoid this. "Lock it down. I don't want this spreading." "Sir, it's already spread. The question is how you want to respond." Jisoo thought fast. Deny it. That made him look weak and dishonest. Confirm it? That painted a target on Kofi. No comment. If anyone asks directly, tell them it's personal business and not up for discussion. Minji nodded and left, but the damage was done. By that evening, Jisoo started getting calls. Business associates asking if everything was all right. Competitors probing for information. One particularly bold rival sent a message that was almost a threat, suggesting that family complications could affect their working relationship. Jisoo sat in his office and made a list, and every person who'd reached out with veiled threats or uncomfortable curiosity. Every business relationship suddenly felt dangerous. Then he started cutting ties. First was a partnership with a man known for using personal information as leverage. Jisoo called him directly. "We're done. Dissolve our agreement." "That'll cost you." "I don't care. Draw up the papers." Second was a weapons dealer, technically legal but morally murky. Jisoo had used him for security equipment. Not anymore. Third, fourth, fifth. He went down the list, methodically removing anyone who operated in ways that could circle back to hurt Kofi or Diarra. Choi, his second in command, confronted him about it. "You're cutting off profitable relationships over a photo?" "I'm removing liabilities." "The child is the liability." Jisoo's voice went cold. "You say that again." Choi backtracked. "I just mean, in our world, attachments are risks." "Then I'm changing what world I operate in." Over the next month, Jisoo restructured his entire business model. Less underground dealing, more legitimate enterprise. It cost him money, respect from certain circles, and several long-term alliances. But when he held Kofi the next Saturday, none of that mattered. Except Diarra noticed. "You look tired," she said when she dropped Kofi off. "Work has been busy." "Busy how?" Jisoo hesitated. He hadn't told her about the photo or the fallout. Didn't want her to panic or use it as a reason to pull back. "Just restructuring some things." Diarra's eyes narrowed. "Does this have to do with Kofi? Did someone find out?" "It's handled." "That's not an answer." Kofi started fussing, wanting attention. Jisoo picked him up, grateful for the distraction. "Jisoo," Diarra's voice was firm. "If your world is touching ours, I need to know." "It touched briefly. I dealt with it. There's no danger." "How did you deal with it?" He met her eyes. "I removed the people who saw it as opportunity. Cut ties with anyone who might use him as leverage. It's done." Diarra processed that. You changed your business because of him?" "Yes." "How much did it cost you? Does it matter?" Yes, it matters. Because if you did something big and you're going to resent it later, resent us, I need to know now. Jisoo set Kofi down with his toys and faced Diarra fully. I don't resent it. Those partnerships were always going to be problems eventually. This just forced me to handle it sooner. You're really okay with this? With how much your life is changing? My life needed to change. I just didn't know it until I met him. He gestured to Kofi, who was now trying to eat a toy car. Diarra was quiet for a long moment. My sister called you. She did. She threatened to destroy me if I hurt you. That sounds like Thandiwa. Diarra almost smiled. What did you say? Nothing that satisfied her. Jisoo paused. She asked what I was trying to be to you. I didn't have an answer then. Do you have one now? No. But I know what I'm trying not to be. I'm trying not to be the person who shut you out, who made you feel like you weren't part of my life. He took a breath. You asked me once about my work, my world. I said it wasn't your concern. That was wrong. So what? Now you're going to tell me everything? If you want to know. Oh, yes. Diarra looked shocked. Just like that? Just like that. She sat down on his couch, processing. Why? Because you were right. Back then, you were right. I kept you separate because I thought that was protection. But really it was control. I controlled the information, the access, the boundaries. And I lost you because of it. Jisoo, we're not getting back together. I know. This isn't about that. This is about being honest. Co-parents should trust each other, right? You can't trust me if I'm hiding things. Diarra looked at him like she was seeing someone new. Who are you, and what did you do with my ex-husband? Your ex-husband is learning that maybe he didn't know everything after all. Kofi crawled over and pulled himself up using Jisoo's leg, a new skill he was very proud of, and Jisoo steadied him automatically. He'll be walking soon, Diarra said softly. I know. I've been reading the milestone charts. Of course you have. But she said it with warmth, not mockery. She left 20 minutes later, but the conversation stayed with Jisoo for days. The following Saturday, Diarra asked if she could use his laptop for something. Hers had died, and she needed to send an urgent email for work. Of course, it's in my office. She went in while Jisoo entertained Kofi. When she came back out 15 minutes later, her face was strange. You left your calendar open. Jisoo's stomach dropped. His calendar had everything. Meeting notes, business details, things he probably shouldn't have left accessible. I didn't mean to snoop, Diarra continued, but I saw Jisoo. You've been turning down international trips. And for months, every single Saturday is blocked. Yes, you told me once that those trips were essential, that your business would fall apart without you traveling. I adjusted. You adjusted your entire business model around Saturday afternoons? Yes. Diarra sat down, laptop forgotten. Why didn't you tell me? It's not a sacrifice, it's a choice. But it cost you. I can see the notes. You've lost clients, opportunities. And I gained a son. Jisoo kept his voice level. That seems like a good trade. Kofi chose that moment to toddle over, still unsteady on his feet. He crashed into Diarra's legs and laughed. She picked him up automatically, kissing his forehead. I don't know what to do with this, she admitted. With what? With you being this, consistent, changing, actually following through. She looked at him over Kofi's head. The man I divorced wouldn't have done any of this. Maybe I'm not him anymore. People don't just change. No, Jisoo agreed. They don't just change. They decide to, and then they do the work. Every day. Diarra left early that day, claiming she had errands. But Jisoo knew a retreat when he saw one. He'd pushed too close to something real, and she needed space. He gave it to her. But the next Saturday, she showed up with a proposition. My family wants to meet him, she said, meaning Kofi. My mother is coming to visit from Zimbabwe in 2 weeks, and my sister Thandiwe, the one who called you. Okay. They want to meet you too. Jisoo processed that. Meeting her family felt significant, official. Are you comfortable with that? I don't know. But they're not going to stop asking. And honestly, if you're going to be in his life, they should know you. When? Saturday, 2 weeks from now. We're having a family dinner at my place. You'd come at 6. I'll be there. Diarra nodded, then hesitated. They're going to judge you, especially Thandiwe. And my mother. She's traditional in different ways than your family. She's going to have opinions. I can handle opinions. Can you handle them without getting defensive or cold? That was a fair question. The old Jisoo would have shut down any criticism with ice and distance. I can try. That's all I'm asking. The 2 weeks passed quickly. Jisoo found himself nervous, which was ridiculous. He'd negotiated with hostile executives, stared down threats, built an empire. But the idea of sitting across from Diarra's mother made his palms sweat. He showed up at exactly 6, holding a gift he'd agonized over. Not too expensive, not too cheap. A nice bottle of wine and a traditional Korean tea set, something that showed respect, but wasn't trying too hard. Diarra opened the door. She was wearing a colorful dress, her hair down. She looked beautiful. "Hi," she said. "Hi. They're already here. Fair warning, Thandiwe has prepared questions." Of course she has. Diarra almost smiled. Come on. The apartment was more crowded than Jisoo had ever seen it. 2 women sat in the living room. One was clearly Diarra's mother, older, regal with sharp eyes. The other was younger, mid-30s maybe, with an expression that could cut glass. "Thandiwe. Mama Thandiwe, this is Jisoo. Jisoo, my mother Rudo, Oz and my sister." Jisoo bowed slightly, a sign of respect. "It's an honor to meet you both." Rudo looked him up and down. "So you're the one who broke my daughter's heart, and then suddenly wants to play father." "Well, no easing into it then. Yes, ma'am, I did break her heart, and I'm not playing at anything now. I'm trying to do better." Thandiwe snorted. "Trying? That's a convenient word." Diarra intervened. "Can we at least sit down before the interrogation starts?" They settled in the small living room. Kofi was already asleep in his room, which meant this dinner was purely about the adults. Rudo accepted the gifts with a polite nod, but no warmth. Thandiwe didn't even pretend to be impressed. Dinner was tense. Diarra had cooked traditional food, rich and flavorful. Jisoo complimented it honestly, and Rudo thawed slightly. Diarra says you've been consistent with visits," Rudo said. "Yes, ma'am. Every week for 10 months now." "And why should we believe this will continue?" "Because I want to know my son, and because I owe it to him to be present." "You owe it to him?" Thandiwe leaned forward. "What about what you owe Diarra? You married her, promised her a life, then shut her out of yours. You owe her more than just showing up for the baby." Jisoo met her eyes. "You're right. I do. And I don't know how to make up for those years. But I'm trying to be someone who deserves to be in both their lives now." "Why?" Rudo asked. "Why now? Why not when she was your wife, begging for scraps of your attention?" The words hit hard because they were true. "Because I was a coward then," Jisoo said quietly. "I thought keeping her separate from my work was protecting her. Really, I was protecting myself. From vulnerability, from having to change, from letting someone see all of me." He paused. "She left because I gave her no choice. And losing her taught me what I should have known all along." "Which is?" Thandiwe pressed. "That control isn't the same as care, and that the things worth having are the things that require you to be brave." Silence fell over the table. Rudo studied him. "Pretty words. Yes, ma'am. But I'm backing them with action. I've changed how I work, who I work with, how I spend my time. I've put Kofi first in every decision for 10 months. I plan to keep doing that." "And what about my daughter?" "What about her?" Where does she fit in this new life you're building? Jisoo glanced at Diarra, who looked uncomfortable. That's up to her. I'm not here to pressure or push. I'm here because she's Kofi's mother, and because I still care about her well-being. Care about, Thandiwe repeated. That's diplomatic. It's honest. The dinner continued, questions coming from all angles. Rudo asked about his family, his business, his plans. Thandiwe asked about his past, his mistakes, his intentions. Diarra mostly stayed quiet, watching. By the time dessert came out, Jisoo felt exhausted, but something had shifted. Rudo wasn't warm exactly, but she wasn't hostile either. As they were clearing plates, Thandiwe cornered him in the kitchen. I meant what I said on the phone. You heard her again. I'll end you. I believe you. Good. She paused. But I'll admit, you're doing better than I expected. Diarra seems not happy exactly, but less sad. That's something. I'll take it. When Jisoo left that night, Diarra walked him to the door. You survived, she said. Barely. They liked you more than they wanted to. Thandiwe told me in the kitchen. She also threatened to end me. That means she's considering letting you live. Diarra smiled. Thank you for being honest with them, and for not getting defensive. Your family loves you. They're supposed to be protective. Still, it couldn't have been easy. They stood in the doorway, close enough that Jisoo could smell her perfume, something warm and familiar. Diarra, he started, then stopped. Don't, she said softly. Whatever you're about to say, don't. Not yet. Why not? Because I'm not ready. You're doing everything right, and it's confusing. And I need time to figure out what I feel versus what I remember feeling. Jisoo nodded. Okay, take your time. He left, but the words stayed with him. She'd said yet. Not ready yet. That meant maybe someday. If you're still here, thank you for sticking with this story. Drop a comment and let me know what you think Diarra should do, because what happens next is going to test everything they've been building. Let's keep going. The following week, everything went wrong. Jisoo was in his office when Choi entered without knocking, face grim. We have a problem. Someone leaked information about your restructuring. Our competitors know you've been cutting ties, and they think you're weak. Let them think what they want. It's not that simple. Young's group is making moves. They're trying to poach our clients, undercut our contracts. And there, sir, they're asking questions about your personal life. Jisoo's blood went cold. What kind of questions? About the child, about the mother. They've done research. This was what Jisoo had feared, the moment his two worlds collided in a way he couldn't control. Double security on Diarra's building. Quietly. I don't want her knowing unless necessary. Already done. But sir, Young sent a message. He wants to meet. No. He suggested that if you don't meet, he'll make things difficult for everyone involved. It was a clear threat. Young was a rival who operated without rules, someone Jisoo had avoided working with for exactly this reason. Set up the meeting. Neutral location, tomorrow. That night, Jisoo didn't sleep. He ran through scenarios, strategies, ways to shut this down without escalation. But Young wasn't someone who backed down easily. The meeting happened in a hotel conference room. Young arrived with 2 associates, Jisoo with Choi. Kwon, Jung said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You've been making interesting changes lately. Business evolution. Is that what we're calling it? Young sat down. Looks more like weakness to me. Cutting profitable partnerships, turning down deals, blocking off your Saturdays. He leaned forward. All for what? A baby that isn't even legitimate? Jisoo's jaw clenched. Careful. Or what? You'll do what exactly? You've gone soft, Kwon. Everyone sees it. And soft means vulnerable. What do you want, Young? I want to make a deal. You step back from 3 contracts we're both competing for. Let me have them without a fight. In exchange, I keep what I know about your personal complications private. It was blackmail, clean and simple. The old Jisoo would have responded with threats, with overwhelming force, would have found Jung's pressure points and squeezed until he backed down. But that approach would invite more conflict, more danger. And danger near him meant danger near Kofi and Diarra. I need to think about it. Jung smiled. You have 24 hours. The meeting ended. Back in his car, Choi spoke carefully. What are you going to do? I'm going to remove him as a problem, permanently. How? Not the old way. I'm done with that. Jisoo pulled out his phone. Get me everything on Jung's operations. Every illegal shortcut, every bribe, every corner he's cut. We're going to bury him the legal way. It took 18 hours. Jisoo called in favors from lawyers, investigators, and people who owed him. They built a case, compiled evidence, handed it to the right authorities. By the time Jung's 24 hours were up, he was being investigated for tax fraud and bribery. Jisoo called him personally. The deals are yours. I'm out. Smart choice. But if you ever mention my family again, what's happening to you now will look like mercy. Are we clear? Jung's silence was answer enough. Jisoo hung up and immediately called Diarra. Is everything okay? She answered, clearly sensing something was wrong. Can I come over? I need to tell you something. She hesitated. Now? Yes. Okay, come over. 20 minutes later, Jisoo sat in her apartment and explained everything. The photo, Jung's threats, how he'd handled it. Oh, Diarra listened without interrupting, her face unreadable. When he finished, she said, This is exactly what I was afraid of. I know. Your world touching ours, Kofi becoming a target. He was never in real danger. I made sure of it. This time. Diarra stood, pacing. But what about next time? What about when he's older and someone uses him to get to you? I won't let that happen. You can't promise that. Kofi started crying from the other room, woken by the raised voices. Diarra went to get him, returning with the sleepy toddler on her hip. I've built a safe life for him, she said quietly, away from all of this. And now it's following us anyway. Diarra, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I should have kept you away. The words hit like a physical blow. Jisoo looked at Diarra holding their son, but saw the fear in her eyes and felt something crack inside him. You're right, he said. Diarra blinked. What? You're right. My world is dangerous, and it followed you, and I can't guarantee it won't happen again. He stood. But walking away won't change that now. Jung already knows about you both. Other people know. The information is out there. So, what are you saying? I'm saying that keeping me at a distance won't make you safer anymore. It'll just mean you're dealing with potential threats without me there to handle them. He paused. But if you want me gone, I'll go. I'll still make sure you're protected, from a distance. You and Kofi will never see me again, if that's what you want. Diarra sat down heavily. Kofi squirmed in her arms, wanting down. She set him on the floor, where he immediately crawled toward his toys. I don't know what I want, she admitted. I'm scared. I know. For 10 months, I've watched you show up, be consistent, change your life. And I started to believe maybe we could make this work. Co-parenting, being in each other's lives. She looked up at him. But this reminded me why I left. Because your world has consequences I can't control. Jisoo sat down across from her. You're right about that too. But here's what's different now. Back then, I kept you separate. I made decisions without telling you, tried to control everything alone. I'm not doing that anymore. I told you about Jung immediately. I'll tell you about every threat, every problem. You get to make informed choices, not just live with my decisions. That doesn't make the danger go away. No, but it means you're not in the dark. He leaned forward. Diarra, I can't make my past disappear. I can't undo the business I built or the connections I made, but I can be honest about it. And I can keep changing how I operate to minimize the risk. Kofi crawled over to Jisoo and pulled himself up using Jisoo's knee, babbling something incomprehensible. "He trusts you," Diarra said softly. "I know. I don't want to take that away from him, or from you. But I need to know that you'll put him first, always, even if it costs you everything." Jisoo looked at his son, then back at Diarra. "I already have, and I'll keep doing it." Diarra was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "Okay, but new rule, complete transparency. Anything that might touch us, I need to know immediately." "Done. And if something happens that puts Kofi in real danger, might we reevaluate everything?" "Agreed," she nodded, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. "Okay then." Jisoo left that night feeling like he'd barely avoided losing everything. The conversation haunted him for days, but it also clarified something. He'd been making changes to his business, but he hadn't gone far enough. If he wanted Diarra to feel safe, if he wanted Kofi to grow up without fear, he needed to do more. Over the next 3 months, Jisoo did something radical. He started stepping back. He promoted Choi to handle day-to-day operations. He moved more of his assets into legitimate businesses, things that couldn't be used as leverage. He cut ties with anyone who operated in moral gray areas. His empire got smaller, quieter, less powerful in the traditional sense, but cleaner. People in his world noticed, and some saw it as weakness and tried to take advantage. Jisoo handled them efficiently, using legal means and strategic information. Some saw it as evolution and respected the move. His mother did not see it as either. She showed up at his office unannounced one afternoon. "We need to talk about this ridiculous restructuring you're doing." "Hello, Mother." "Don't hello, Mother me. You're dismantling everything your father built. For what? A child born out of wedlock? A child who is my son, your grandson, who I still haven't met because you're protecting that woman's feelings." Jisoo set down his pen. "That woman has a name. Diarra. And I'm not protecting her feelings. I'm respecting her boundaries. There's a difference. Boundaries." His mother said it like a curse. "You're letting her control you." "No. I'm letting her set the terms for how I interact with our child. That's called co-parenting. It's called being weak." Jisoo stood. "If putting my son's well-being above my pride is weak, then I'm weak. I can live with that." His mother looked shocked. Jisoo never pushed back against her. He usually just went silent or changed the subject. "She's changed you," his mother said. "He's changed me. Kofi. Because being his father matters more than maintaining an image. And what about family legacy? Duty? Honor? What honor is there in building an empire that puts my child at risk?" Jisoo moved around his desk. "You want to meet Kofi? Then you need to accept Diarra. Respect her. Respect the life she's built. Because they're a package deal. You're asking me to bow to her? I'm asking you to be a grandmother, a real one, so not someone who shows up with judgment and conditions." His mother left without another word. Jisoo didn't know if that meant progress or disaster. 2 weeks later, he found out. His mother called. "I want to meet them properly. The child and Diarra. Tell me when and where." Jisoo called Diarra that night. "My mother wants to meet you both, officially." Silence on the other end. "Diarra, is she going to be horrible?" "Probably a little, but she's trying. That's something." More silence. Then, "Okay, but at my apartment, on my turf. And your mother needs to understand that she doesn't get to criticize how I'm raising Kofi. I'll make that clear." The meeting was scheduled for the following Saturday. Jisoo arrived early to help Diarra prepare, which mostly meant keeping Kofi entertained while she stress-cleaned her already clean apartment. "She's going to judge everything," Diarra muttered, rearranging pillows for the 3rd time. "Let her. You've built a good life. Anyone can see that. Korean mothers-in-law are notoriously difficult. Ex-mother-in-law. That doesn't make it better." When his mother arrived, she was dressed formally. carrying an expensive-looking gift bag. She looked around the small apartment with an expression Jisoo couldn't quite read. "Mrs. Kwon," Diarra said, polite but not warm. "Please come in. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." They settled in the living room. Kofi, almost 2 years old now, peeked out from behind Jisoo's leg, shy. His mother's expression softened when she saw him. "So this is my grandson." "This is Kofi," Diarra confirmed. "Kofi, can you say hello?" Kofi waved one small hand, then buried his face against Jisoo's knee. "He's shy with new people," Jisoo explained. His mother set down her bag and, surprising everyone, got down on the floor at Kofi's level. "Hello, Kofi. I'm your grandmother." Kofi peeked at her. She pulled out a small toy from her bag, a traditional Korean wooden puzzle. "This was your father's when he was small. Would you like to play with it?" Kofi looked at Jisoo for permission. Jisoo nodded. Slowly, Kofi approached his grandmother and took the toy. Diarra and Jisoo exchanged glances. Over the next hour, something unexpected happened. Jisoo's mother, the woman who'd always been rigid and formal, sat on the floor playing with Kofi. She asked Diarra questions about his routine, his development, his personality. Real questions, not judgmental ones. "He's bilingual?" his mother asked, when Kofi responded to something Diarra said in her native language. "Yes, I speak to him in Shona and English. Jisoo speaks Korean. We want him to have all his languages." His mother nodded. "That's good. Better than I did with Jisoo. I should have taught him more." It was the closest thing to approval Diarra was going to get. When his mother left, she hugged Kofi goodbye and, awkwardly, nodded at Diarra. "Thank you for letting me meet him. I hope we can do this again." "We can arrange that," Diarra said carefully. After she left, Diarra turned to Jisoo. "That went better than I expected." She liked him. Hard not to. She was almost nice to me. "Progress," Diarra laughed. "Your family is complicated. Yours threatened to destroy me. Also fair." They stood in her small apartment, Kofi playing at their feet, and something felt different. Lighter. "Are you staying for dinner?" Diarra asked. "If you're offering." "I'm offering." They ate together, the three of them, like a family. It was becoming a regular thing, these dinners. Jisoo showing up on Saturday mornings and staying until Kofi's bedtime, helping with meals, bath time, the daily routine. It felt natural. After Kofi was asleep, Jisoo helped clean up. Diarra washed dishes while he dried. "Can I ask you something?" Diarra said suddenly. "Anything. Are you happy with how your life is now versus how it was before?" Jisoo thought about that. "Before, I had more power, more money, more respect in certain circles. That's not what I asked. Now, I have Saturday mornings watching cartoons I don't understand. I have a son who thinks my phone is a toy. I have moments like this. Washing dishes in a small kitchen." He set down the towel. "So, yes, I'm happier." Diarra turned to look at him. Really? Turns out power is lonely. This isn't." Something shifted in her expression. She opened her mouth to say something, then stopped. "What?" Jisoo asked. "Nothing. Just thank you for being honest." But it wasn't nothing. Jisoo could see it in her eyes. She was reconsidering something, reevaluating. He didn't push, just went back to drying dishes. 2 months later, Diarra made a decision. "I want you to keep him overnight," she said. "Full weekends, Friday evening to Sunday afternoon." "Are you sure? You've been consistent for almost a year and a half. You've changed your entire life. You've handled threats without dragging us into danger." "Yes, I'm sure." So the arrangement changed. Every other weekend, Kofi stayed with Jisoo. The apartment that had once been sterile and cold was now full of toys, children's books in 3 languages, finger paintings on the fridge. Jisoo learned to handle tantrums and bedtime negotiations. He learned which foods Kofi would eat and which he'd throw on the floor. He learned that sometimes comfort was just being present, not fixing things. He became a father. And somewhere in that process, he and Diarra became something else too. Not just co-parents. Friends, maybe. People who talked about more than just Kofi. Who texted each other random things during the week. Who showed up for each other. When Diarra's apartment had a plumbing issue, Jisoo sent someone to fix it without being asked. When Jisoo's business faced a crisis, Diarra listened to him work through it, offering perspective. When Kofi got sick, they stayed up together at the hospital, taking turns holding him. The walls between them were coming down, brick by brick. Jisoo's assistant Minji noticed. "You smile more now." "Do I?" "Yes, it's weird but nice." Choi noticed too. "You're different, softer, but somehow stronger." "That doesn't make sense." "Doesn't make it less true." Even Jisoo's mother commented during one of her now regular visits to see Kofi. "You found balance. Your father never did." It was the highest compliment she'd ever given him. But the biggest change came on an ordinary Tuesday. Jisoo was dropping Kofi back at Diarra's apartment after a weekend visit. Kofi ran to his mother, excited to tell her about the zoo trip in a mix of 3 languages. Diarra listened, smiling, then looked up at Jisoo. "Do you want to stay for dinner? I'm making that stew you liked last time." "I'd like that." During dinner, Kofi knocked over his juice. They both moved to clean it up, bumping heads in the process. "Ow!" Diarra laughed, rubbing her forehead. "Sorry," Jisoo said, but he was laughing too. Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Recognition. Want. Possibility. Diarra looked away first. "I should get Kofi ready for bed. I should go." But neither of them moved. "Jisoo," Diarra said quietly. "What are we doing?" "What do you mean?" "This. The dinners, the texting. The way we are around each other now. It feels like more than co-parenting." Jisoo's heart was racing. "What do you want it to be?" "I don't know. I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of making the same mistake twice. Of trusting you and getting hurt again." She looked at him. "But I'm also scared of letting fear stop me from something that might be real." "It is real," Jisoo said. "Whatever this is, it's real." "How do you know?" "Because I think about you constantly. Because when good things happen, you're the person I want to tell. Because being around you feels like home." He paused. "I'm in love with you. Still. Again. I don't know which, but it's true." Diarra's breath caught. "Jisoo, you don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know." Kofi chose that moment to start demanding attention, wanting his bedtime story. The moment broke. Jisoo left shortly after, his confession hanging in the air. For 3 days, Diarra didn't mention it. They texted normally, talked about Kofi, kept things surface level. Jisoo started to think he'd made a mistake telling her. Then on Friday evening, Diarra showed up at his apartment. Kofi wasn't with her. "He's with Thandue," she said at his questioning look. "I needed to talk to you alone." "Okay." She came inside, paced his living room. "I've been thinking about what you said. Diarra, if I made you uncomfortable." "Let me finish." She stopped pacing. "For 2 years, I've been angry at you. For the marriage, for how it ended, for not being what I needed. And I had every right to be. You did. But watching you this past year and a half, watching you actually change, actually show up, actually be vulnerable, it's been confusing." She looked at him. "Because I never stopped loving you either. I just stopped believing you could love me the way I needed. And now? Now I think maybe you can. Maybe you have been, in all these small ways. The consistency, the honesty, the work you've put in." Jisoo's heart was pounding. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to try, not jump back into marriage, but try. Dating, I guess. Seeing if what we have now can be something more." "You're sure?" "No, I'm terrified. But I'm also tired of letting fear make my decisions." She stepped closer. "So if you're willing to be patient, To let this happen slowly. Then yes, I want to try. Jisoo closed the distance between them. I can be patient. I can be whatever you need. Just be honest. That's all I need. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like something precious. She kissed him back, hands coming up to his chest. When they broke apart, Diarra was smiling. That was nice. Just nice? Okay, better than nice. They spent the evening talking about fears, hopes, boundaries. Diarra was clear that this had to be separate from their co-parenting at first. They wouldn't tell Kofi until they were sure. They'd take things slow. Jisoo agreed to everything. They started dating like new people, even though they'd been married before. Coffee dates while Kofi was at daycare. Dinner without their son present. Some long conversations about everything they'd never talked about during their marriage. Jisoo told her about his childhood, his father's expectations, how he'd built his empire as armor against vulnerability. Diarra told him about leaving Zimbabwe, building a life in Korea, the loneliness of being far from home. They learned each other again, this time without walls. 3 months into dating, Jisoo took her to meet his business partners at a formal dinner. He introduced her not as his ex-wife or his child's mother, but as Diarra, the woman he was with. Some people were surprised. Others who'd known about the divorce were shocked. Jisoo didn't care. He spent the whole evening with his hand on the small of her back, included her in conversations, showed her off proudly. Afterward, in the car, Diarra said, "Well, that was different than before." How so? Before, when we were married, you'd bring me to events, but keep me at arm's length. Wouldn't let me into the conversations. Tonight you included me. Like we were partners. We are partners. I know, but you believe it now. That's the difference. 6 months into dating, they told Kofi. Mama and Appa we're together now, Diarra explained to their 2.5-year-old. Like we're special friends. Kofi looked between them. Appa stays? Yes, Appa's going to be around more. Okay, can I have a snack? They'd worried about his reaction, but he adjusted seamlessly. In his mind, having both parents around was just better. The three of them started doing more things together. Park trips, museum visits, simple domestic moments. They felt like a family. But 1 year into dating, Jisoo knew he wanted to propose, but he also knew it had to be right. Not flashy, not controlling, not a demand. He planned carefully. First, he talked to Diarra's mother and sister, video called them, asked for their blessing. Thandiwe laughed. You're really asking permission? Yes. I want to do this right. Rudo studied him through the screen. You heard her before. I know. If you do it again, I won't. But if I ever do, you have my permission to do whatever Thandiwe threatened. That surprised a laugh from both of them. You have my blessing, Rudo said. Don't waste it. Next, he talked to his own mother. I'm going to ask Diarra to marry me. Again. His mother set down her tea. Are you certain? Completely. She's not traditional. No. She's better. She's real. His mother was quiet for a moment. Your father would have disapproved. But your father was wrong about many things. She looked at Jisoo. I approve. She's made you better. That's what family should do. Finally, he talked to Kofi, even though their son was too young to really understand. I'm going to ask Mama to marry me. What do you think? Mama pretty. She is. Do you want us all to live together? Yes. And get a dog? Maybe not a dog yet, but we'll work on the rest. The proposal itself was simple. Jisoo cooked dinner at his apartment. Nothing fancy, just the stew Diarra had made that first time he'd stayed. He set the table, lit candles, put Kofi to bed early. When Diarra arrived, she looked suspicious. What's all this? Dinner. I wanted to do something nice. They ate, talking about their days. Normal conversation, easy and comfortable. After dinner, Jisoo cleared his throat. I want to ask you something. Okay? We've been doing this for a year now, dating, co-parenting, building something together. And every day, I'm more sure that this is what I want. You, me, Kofi. A family. Diarra's eyes widened. Jisoo, let me finish. He pulled out a ring box, but didn't open it yet. Last time I proposed, I was young and stupid. I thought marriage was about ownership, about having someone fit into my life. I was wrong. You were young. Now I know marriage is about partnership, about choosing each other every day, about building a life together, not demanding someone live in yours. He opened the box. The ring was beautiful but not ostentatious, a single stone, ethically sourced. It sat in a band that incorporated both Korean and African design elements. Diarra, I'm not asking you to complete me or fix me. I'm asking you to build with me, as equals, as partners, as people who chose to love each other even when it's hard. He took a breath. Will you marry me? Again? Not because of our past, but because of who we're choosing to become. Tears were streaming down Diarra's face. You're really asking? I'm really asking. And if you say no, I'll understand. We can keep dating, take more time, whatever you need. But I wanted you to know that I'm ready. Completely ready. Diarra looked at the ring, then at him. You designed this? With help. I wanted it to represent both of us. It's perfect. She wiped her eyes. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Again. Because you're right. We're not who we were before. We're better. She laughed through tears. We're so much better. Jisoo slid the ring on her finger and kissed her, properly this time, without hesitation or fear. From the other room, they heard Kofi's voice. Appa? Mama? They broke apart, laughing. Bedtime's over, apparently, Diarra said. They went to Kofi's room together. He was standing in his crib, hair messy from sleep. Did we wake you? Jisoo asked, picking him up. Loud, Kofi complained. Sorry, buddy, but we have good news. Mama and Appa are getting married. Kofi perked up. Party. Yes, there'll be a party. Can I have cake? Diarra laughed. Yes, you can have cake. Okay. Kofi snuggled into Jisoo's shoulder, already half asleep again. They stood there, the three of them, and Jisoo felt complete. The wedding planning happened over the next 6 months. This time, everything was different. They planned together, making every decision as a team. The wedding would be small, intimate, blending both cultures. Both families would be there, a few close friends. Kofi would be the ring bearer, which he took very seriously once they explained it meant he got to wear a fancy outfit. Jisoo's mother helped with traditional Korean elements. Diarra's mother and sister flew in early to help with African traditions. The two mothers met and, surprisingly, got along, bonded over mutual grandchild obsession, and shared relief that their children had figured things out. The wedding took place in a garden, simple and beautiful. Chairs were arranged in a circle, symbolizing unity and equality. Diarra wore a dress that incorporated both white lace and traditional African fabric. Jisoo wore a suit with subtle Korean embroidery. Kofi wore a tiny hanbok and carried the rings on a pillow, walking down the aisle with concentrated determination. When it was time for vows, Jisoo went first. Diarra, the first time we got married, I promised to love you. I meant it. But I didn't understand what it required. I thought love was a feeling, something that just existed. I didn't know it was a choice, made every single day. He took her hands. Today, I'm making that choice with full understanding. I choose to love you when it's easy and when it's hard. I choose to be honest even when it's uncomfortable. I choose to be your partner, your equal, your safe place. He paused. I can't promise perfection, but I promise presence. I promise truth. I promise that I will spend every day trying to be worthy of the trust you're giving me. Diarra was crying again, but smiling. Jisoo, when I left you, I thought I'd never feel this way about you again. I thought we were done." Her voice wavered. "But you proved me wrong, not with big gestures or expensive gifts, but with consistency, with change, with actually doing the work." She squeezed his hands. "Today I'm choosing you too. Not because our son needs us together, but because I want us together. I choose to trust you with my heart again. I choose to build a life with you, different than before, better than before." She smiled through tears. "I can't promise it'll always be easy, but I promise I'll stay. As long as you stay truthful, I'll stay present. And we're in this together." The efficient barely got through the official words before they were kissing, earning cheers from their small audience. Kofi yelled, "Cake time!" which made everyone laugh. The reception was joyful. Both families mingled, sharing food and stories. Rudo and Jisu's mother sat together, watching Kofi run around, discussing future grandchildren. Thandiwe cornered Jisu at one point. "You did good. Don't mess it up." "I won't. I'll still end you if you do." "I know." She hugged him, surprising them both. As the sun set, Jisu and Diarra stood together, watching their families, their son, their new beginning. "We did it," Diarra said. "We did. I'm happy." "Me too." Kofi ran over, grabbing both their hands. "Come dance." They let themselves be pulled onto the makeshift dance floor, laughing. Later, after the party wound down, and Kofi was asleep at his grandmother's house, Jisu and Diarra went home. Not to separate apartments, but to the house they'd bought together. A real home, chosen and built as partners. "I can't believe we're married again," Diarra said, looking at her ring. "I can't believe you said yes. I can't believe you actually changed. I can't believe I almost lost you." She leaned against him. "But you didn't. We found our way back. Better than before. So much better." 1 year later, things had settled into a beautiful routine. Jisu had stepped back even further from his business, taking on an advisory role. He'd discovered he liked mentoring more than empire building. Diarra had expanded her nonprofit, helping more families. Jisu's resources and connections, used ethically, made a real difference. Kofi was thriving, a bright, bilingual, bicultural child who moved seamlessly between worlds. The family expanded when they adopted a dog, much to Kofi's delight. Jisu's mother babysat regularly, teaching Kofi traditional Korean games. Diarra's family visited often, filling the house with noise and love. On a quiet Sunday morning, Jisu woke to find Diarra already up, reading on the couch. Kofi was between them, coloring. "Good morning," Diarra said, smiling. "Morning." Jisu sat down, and Kofi immediately climbed into his lap, showing him a drawing of their family. 3 figures holding hands, a dog, a house. "That's us," Kofi announced proudly. "It's perfect," Jisu said. And it was. No, it wasn't perfect. There were still challenges, disagreements, moments of stress, but they faced them together, some with honesty and commitment. Some love stories end. Theirs had ended once, messily and painfully. But the best love stories don't just end. They rebuild. They learn. They choose to begin again, wiser and stronger. As Jisu sat with his wife and son, morning light streaming through the windows, he realized something. The empire he'd built, the power he'd accumulated, none of it compared to this. To being chosen, to choosing, to showing up every day and doing the work. He'd spent his whole life trying to control everything. Turned out the best things in life were the ones you couldn't control. You could only nurture them, protect them, and choose them over and over again. Diarra looked up from her book and caught his eye. "What are you thinking about?" "How lucky I am." "Good answer." Kofi tugged his sleeve. "Appa, can we go to the park?" "After breakfast." "Can Mama come?" "Of course Mama's coming. We go together now." "Always together?" Jisu looked at Diarra, who smiled. Always together, he confirmed. And he meant it. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for being here for this whole journey. Stories like this remind us that people can change, love can rebuild, and second chances are possible when you do the actual work. If this story touched you in any way, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me what part resonated with you most. Your support means everything, and I've got more stories coming that I think you're going to love. Until next time, remember that the best love stories aren't the ones that never break. They're the ones that rebuild stronger than before.